guys, welcome. So on the last time we were trying to stream, it did not work for us. So let me go ahead and log in real quick. And we're gonna try to stream this time. So welcome to the channel. My name is Aiden and welcome to our first official stream. Hopefully this time the stream is gonna be better, it's not gonna freeze. I made some changes to the network configuration, so that should keep us going without freezing. Last time the video was freezing, it was really unusable really. So now I'm gonna go ahead actually try to outline what we're trying to do today. So our video title, as it says here, we're gonna be configuring a brand new virtual machine. After that, we're gonna configure Caddy and Caddy reverse proxy. That's what we're going to be doing. And so I'm gonna outline what we're gonna be doing, and then from that point on, we're gonna get deep dive into the actual demo and see what we can go ahead and do with the Caddy configuration. So without further ado, I'm gonna pull up my whiteboard over here. This is something that we're gonna wanna go ahead and do before we get too deep into this, because the whole purpose of this video is to try to help out in those of you who are trying to do the same thing, and also try to make sense of this so that way we all on the same page. And I'm not gonna be able to go ahead and explain everything from the beginning, but I will give you guys some, exactly what we're trying to do over here in terms of the cutting. So first things first, our agenda for today is gonna be, this is gonna be our task today for this video. So we're gonna have this task. Number one thing we're gonna go ahead is going to be, we're gonna create a brand new VM, okay? And you can use your VM creation for any hypervisor of your choosing. We don't have to choose what I'm going to be doing. So that's what you can do, number one. After that, you can create assign a static IP. So in this case, I wouldn't even say create, I would just say assign a static IP and, IP, name, and anything else you need for your actual environment. So that's number one. Number two, we're gonna go ahead and actually, if we were doing this for production, we wanna go ahead and actually do port forwarding. So we're gonna do port forwarding, but not for everything, We're not gonna be doing it for everything. So we're only doing it for specifically for port 80. So we're gonna be doing port forwarding on port 80, and 443. So this is something you have to do if you wanted to do the reverse proxy and let it serve as your reverse proxy for you. So let me go ahead and actually forward. So the other thing we're gonna need to do is we're gonna actually go ahead and actually we want to go ahead and actually configure the Caddy file. So we're going to go ahead and actually, before we even get to the configuration, I'm kind of jumping ahead because I've done this a lot now. And I'm not by any means an expert on this, but I have been using it for over a month, and I do think it's going to actually be something you guys can use. So we're going to need to install Caddy, and we're going to need to, verify the functionality. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. And you wanna create a VM on, I need to come back here. You're gonna create a VM on Ubuntu. You do not wanna do anything else. We're gonna be using Ubuntu for this demo. So Ubuntu 24 or later, so you wanna do that if you wanna get this follow along step by step. And then once you do this, you install the Caddy function, then you want to test for is going to be testing it. So this is going to be something we're going to need to follow through. We're going to test Caddy on our new server. After that, 5, you're going to go ahead and configure the Caddy file. Configure Caddy for specific usage. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So this is the steps. One, we're going to create a Ubuntu VM, port forwarding. In this case, we're going to do port forwarding for 80 and for 43. Install Caddy, verify functions, testing Caddy on a new server, configuring Caddy for our task. So in this case, websites, you know. Oops. Let me go ahead and just get this going. So now that we actually lay down the foundation, what we're trying to do, we need to go ahead and actually get started. So let me grab my table over here or chair, and we're gonna go ahead and sit down there and figure everything else. Okay, so let me go ahead and start changing my screen, and we're gonna share my next secondary screen. So over here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up one of my VMs for RDP. Let me switch over to my other main screen. So I'm gonna connect to just a VM over here at this point in time. So this VM, let me close everything to start off fresh, and close this one too. So we got a brand new VM over here. We are able to now utilize this for what we're trying to do. So this is a Windows 11 VM and running on my, my Mac. Basically, is a virtual VM that I created on my hypervisor. So let's go ahead now, actually create. In this case, we're gonna go ahead, type in the IP address for my hypervisor, so we can go ahead create a brand new VM. So oops, I need to go ahead type in. Let me see if that actually will pull up. It's not actually pulling up over here. I'm gonna just go change it a little bit. So let me go ahead and actually create it on here. I just need to get to that hypervisor. For whatever reason, I don't want to troubleshoot it right now in terms of why it's not doing what it's supposed to do, but it's supposed to get us here. So let me log in now. So now that we got it, we logged in here, we're gonna create a brand new VM. This is something that I did do a lot of videos about Nutanix, creating virtual machine. If you want to see a video about this, feel free to go through the channel, or I can make a specific video. But for now, let's create a brand new VM. I'm just gonna call it Caddy. Caddy VM 2025, that's the name of it. And then we're gonna put the date in here. So today's date is December 30, 2024. Almost 2025, guys. So we're gonna put in, give it 2 CPU, we don't wanna do that much. So just give it 2 CPU, 2 vCPU. We're gonna give it 8 gig, that's plenty for this VM. We're gonna attach the ISO, and then we're gonna go Ubuntu 24, update. We're gonna give the disk, let me give like a 60 gigabyte of disk, doesn't matter really. And then we're gonna put in this container. We're gonna hit add. Now we're gonna give a NIC, and then we're gonna connect to the NIC that way. So now that we did this, we're gonna hit save, and that should actually start to create our VM. So we just need to remember what we call the VM. Is gonna create it, then we're gonna install the operating system, then we can do the magic later on. So let's go ahead and actually turn on the VM. Caddy VM 2025, that's the one. The first one is my official one, so you want to stick to this one. It takes a second to power this VM on. You can see it's changing the power state. It's powered on now. So let's click on launch the VM console. We're gonna install the Ubuntu server. Yeah, so In terms of installing this, it should be straightforward. You can do this on any hypervisor you want, even, you know, non-hypervisor really, like your client, your operating system running Hyper-V or VirtualBox. But the process is the same really. It's not really anything special. You do need to just make sure that you assign a static IP, which I will do in our video before we actually get through anything. All right, so we're getting this now. We're gonna hit enter for English, unless you have other spoken language. We're gonna update the new installer. We need to go ahead and actually verify. It's gonna verify that you can do this. Hit done. We're gonna do Ubuntu server. Nothing. Just keep all the default here. We're gonna now need to change the Ethernet to the static IP. So let's click on ENS3. We're gonna click on edit IPv4. We're gonna change it from automatic to manual. Now we're gonna go ahead and provide the subnet. The subnet is going to be the actual IP scheme that you have in your network. I happen to have the 192.168, subnet. And so I'm gonna just do 192.168.1.0/24 subnet, and then I'm gonna go ahead and provide the IP address. So the IP address, I'm gonna give this VM 79. Another thing that we wanna do, just to be on the safe side, if you wanna verify that that IP is not taken up in your environment already, you could just go ahead and ping 192.168.1.79. I don't think it's taken up, so that's why it's not responding. So just verify that, make sure the IP is not duplicate. Otherwise, you're gonna have a problem and you will not be happy with all the work you did. So then I put in my gateway, then now I need to go ahead and actually supply my name server, which is our DNS specifically. So I'm gonna go ahead and use OpenDNS 208.67.222.222 and then comma 208.67.220.220. That's my DNS server. Now we're gonna need to put in our domain. I'm just gonna put in our domain right now and hit save whenever I'm happy with it. Verify it. Never a good idea to go fast and then mess up, because this is your foundation. If you do mess up, you're gonna have to use Linux command line to change the IP address to try to fix it. It's not worth it in my opinion. So hit save. Now it's gonna apply the changes. Once it does that, we will go ahead and actually get started. So hit done here. Hit done for proxy. This is gonna try to test the mirror location, which is fine. Let it test, or you can hit done. It's testing. It looks like it's good. All the test is passed, which is what you want to see. Now you're gonna hit done for the disk. You don't want to change anything with the disk. It's fine if it uses the entire disk. Done. You're gonna hit continue, and this is okay. Just hit continue. Now you want to provide your name of this is the name that you're going to be using, like what the organization name. In this case, my organization name, I'm just going to make it I teach skills. And then I'm going to go ahead and make the server name. This is the server name, very important. So it has to be all lowercase. In this case, I'm going to call it ITKY. That's my naming convention. Whatever your naming convention is, always have a naming convention when you're doing multiple servers. It will make your life easier. So Caddy, again, I can do uppercase Caddy, YouTube. So that's what I chose to do, Caddy YouTube. That's what I'm gonna do. It's just gonna be helpful for me. I'm just gonna put in 12.1.3 or 01, just to kind of make it special. The username, we're gonna make it this also for us, and then supply the password. All right, we're done. Verify it, everything is happy. Hit done. no Ubuntu Pro for us. We're actually gonna verify a couple things here. So you wanna check the box for installing SSH. Very good idea. SSH is gonna help you get into the server from a different machine. So check this box by hitting space and then scroll down, hit done for this. Then here is another option that I recommend you do also check. If you plan to run Docker at one point in the future, you want to check that. If you want to run PowerShell command, you want to check that. So I'm going to actually check those two options, Docker and then PowerShell. You scroll down using the keyboard and hit the space bar to select. Then now you have to be saying done. Now it's going to go ahead installation. It starts. This is going to take about maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It all depends on your environment. In my environment, I'm operating with a crazy specs. This is what my environment looks like, and I'm just gonna show you my hardware configuration. You can see this is what I'm dealing with: 132 gigahertz of CPU, 700, almost 750 gig of memory. So I have a crazy environment. So I expect things to go fast for me, but yours, if you're running on a home lab situation that's not extraordinary like this one, then just take your time, it will get done. So installing right now, we will wait. Once it's done installation, then we will go from there and figure out where we at with it. So we've been doing this about 17 minutes. If you're joining us late, we haven't done a whole lot so far. We're just preparing the VM. So you're not fully behind if you're trying to keep up with this or follow along. All right, looks like it's done. You can see we're getting the installation completed. That was not even 2 minutes, to be honest with you. It was too quick. But I'm gonna mount. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mount it so it doesn't boot from the disk again. This is specifically for my hypervisor. Yours may vary again, so do what you have to do for your environment. Hit reboot now. Then we will go to do the actual thing we're here for. We already did this. It's telling us to remove the installation media. We already unmounted, so we shouldn't have any problem. So now it's booting from actually the disk itself, not the CD-ROM. So you can see it's going through all the checks. All this okay means it's really did what it's supposed to do, and we are halfway there to getting our our brand new Caddy server up and running in a matter of minutes. Yeah, another thing I will say though is before we get too deep into this video, if you're gonna do anything like this, guys, have patience. Nothing will go according to plan when you're doing this, especially as you get to do more complicated projects, side projects, home lab. It's gonna always be, an interesting challenge. So be prepared to embrace the challenge. Do not panic. Do not, try to compare yourself, your situation to other people. This is all about what you can do really end of the day. So there's no competition really. And so if you're not getting this one, feel free to pause, come back if you need to do. In this case, I'm gonna log in using my username that we supplied earlier and password. So I'm able to log in. Now the other thing we're gonna do is, since we enable SSH on this server, I'm gonna log in from my Windows, PC, if you will. then we can go ahead and get started. So let's come over here to, here is my Windows 11, that I'm using. I'm gonna use, from now on, I'm gonna use all the functions from here, this PC over here. So let's come over here. We need to just X out of this one for now. That's a nice wallpaper actually. We're gonna type in terminal. This is gonna be able to let us do SSH, or you can use PowerShell, whichever is your favorite really. So now let's do SSH, and then the username, which is what we supplied earlier, and then the IP address of the server. We hit yes or enter. Once we do this, you make sure you're supplying exactly like this format, otherwise it may not work for you. And hit yes for this. This is okay, and then we're gonna type in the password. This is the ultra super secret password, and I butchered it. Let's try again. There you go, we're in now. So honestly, this, now that we're in the server, there's nothing going on right now. So if I go ahead, check in like docker, sudo docker ps, there's nothing running. After I supply my password, I'm gonna show you. So nothing's running. But if I also check in like just to verify systemctl, status, Caddy, there's nothing. There's nothing running. That's what we want to see, right? Now, what we are gonna do is we're gonna open the browser here on this VM. We're gonna go ahead, type in Caddy. There's a lot of URLs over here, so there's Caddy. Just what you want to do to install Caddy, but we're also gonna pull up the rest of the URLs. That's gonna be helpful in terms of getting this going for us. The Caddy file is what you got going on, and then you need a reverse proxy. And then this is the example of some of the reverse proxies, so you do have that. And then what else we got? Yeah, so this is good. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually install Caddy. So we're gonna click on this documentation. To get to this documentation, simply click on install and then click on your operating system, whichever is your Linux variation. I'm gonna be clicking on Debian, Ubuntu, and then I'm gonna click there, and then I'm gonna copy this command and then copy this to my terminal. That's what I'm gonna do. That's how it's gonna let me install Caddy on my Ubuntu server, as simple as that. So let's come over here. We're gonna paste this in here, and I'm gonna clear this just so you have a fresh start, so nothing junk going on. So we got a Caddy. So this is the command: sudo apt install yes, Debian, and then all that mumbo jumbo basically at this point. But it's a lot of commands, so you just need to copy and paste it. Do not test yourself by typing. I'm pretty sure you guys can type good, but this is something that you don't want to mess up. There's no point in working harder when you can work smarter. So just copy and paste. That's why you want to use like RDP on your Mac if you want to use another machine to manage this, or you can use terminal on your Mac. I don't like terminal. I like when I don't like the terminal on Mac. I like Windows terminal. I think it's much more versatile, so that's why I do this. And then it's gonna run apt update. It's gonna update the application, and then it's gonna install Caddy. That's the last thing it's gonna do. So we're gonna hit enter. It's already attempting to install Caddy, so that's it. We just wait for this to do its magic. Okay guys, so that's it. We got Caddy installed. How do I know that? Well, there's instructions where you can actually follow all the Caddy command, and it will tell you what you got to do to verify it, and there's other things going on. But right now I already did this a lot, and so let me pull up the instructions so that way you guys can follow along. Let's see here. It's been a while. So command line, that's ain't it. So there's another one that I need to pull up here. It should be under, I believe it's gonna be, that's automatic HTTPS, which we'll need later on. So that's the Caddy run, trying to get to systemctl. instructions. I may not have it actually. So let me see if we can get it going real quick. That's Ubuntu. Surface uses instruction. Okay, I think we got it. This is it. This is what I was trying to show you. So if you want to verify whether you have Caddy or not, this is what you want to do. If it's running, is you're going to run this command, and I'm just going to run it from here. I can type it manually, obviously, but I'm just going to show you that all this stuff is readily available for you in online, so you can just need to compile it. I might put all these links in the description. Sometimes it can be difficult to find it, so let's copy and paste this. That's going to let us check the Caddy services if it's running. We should see the service running. This is good. That means the service is running. Well, but wait. How do I know? Can I trust this command line word for it? We don't have to. You can actually come over here to a web browser of our choosing, type in 192.168.79:80. That is gonna pull up the Caddy page. This is what you want to see. This is exactly what you want to see. When you get to the screen, just like it says here, congratulations, you deserve a congratulations. That means you got to the end of it. You have now halfway, let's just say maybe 95% there, because the rest of it is about your customization. You don't have to do anything special really. So that's pretty much it. So now it's a matter of working through some of the specific needs for our situation and then getting it going. Now, I do want a disclaimer over here before we get too deep into it. I also have another Caddy server running, and I can only have one server running at the same time. So this is where I'm gonna get up and kind of try to explain some of the things, what needs to happen next. I already wrote down the instructions of what you need to do step by step. But now that we get to this machine, the Caddy is installed and it's running, and it's verified, then we need to go ahead and basically this is the time where you want to go ahead and do your DNS services, provide your DNS information. If it's GoDaddy, if it's whatever, you want to do your DNS. So that's what you want to do. In this case, if I go ahead and actually, I might do this actually on GoDaddy. I don't know if I can log into it without any problem, but before I log into it, let me get up and show you what I mean by that. So let's switch back to our other view over here, and let's talk about some things just to make sure where we are. So this is our organizational table, if you will. So what we got first is we got our VM created, so that's a check. Let's get a different marker that's gonna keep us, accountable. So this is check, that's done. We created a VM, we assigned the IP, everything is great. We need to also install Caddy. So we kind of jumped this instructions, but we did this. We installed Caddy, we verified function. We tested Caddy also. And so we didn't configure Caddy. So we now have two things we need to do. So we gotta do this one, we gotta do this one, and this one. Now this one is a little bit more private, meaning that you don't want to configure this one for just anybody, because this is all proprietary. Your ISP will provide you a modem. You will need to configure the port forwarding from that router, and so that is something that you can go into your router. You may have an AT&T router, you may have a Spectrum, you may have a Xfinity, whatever your provider is. This is something you would handle it through your provider router. In my case, I would go to mine and type in my gateway. So remember when I was creating the VM, I used to play my gateway. So mine is gonna be, I'll type in my gateway like 192.168.1.154. That's what I would type in. That's my gateway. Yours could be 192. This is the most famous gateway that I see Spectrum gives out, 168.1.1. Then from that point on, you would configure port forwarding to the ports that we talked about here, port 80 and 443. What that will do is, anytime somebody goes to, let's just say, in this case, example.com, if that's hosted in your IP, and let's just say example.com/port. Let me just not even put an example. That's gonna be complicated. So let's put in something simple. If somebody goes into 192.168.1.36:2000, maybe the port is 2000, Caddy knows and is smart enough to know how to route that information. So it will go ahead and actually, route that 2000 port to port 80, or in this case 443. If you specify 443, it will route that for you to 443. So that means your people that are accessing, the website, they don't have to type this in anymore. They can just type in, let's just say, for example, test that your domain .com. It will route to this. It will be this is what is configured, the local port. This is the local one, and this is gonna be the internet facing one. So this is gonna be the internet facing one. So that's how that's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be working for us for Caddy. But now I'm not sure if I will be able to do this for you right now. But the idea is just figure out how to do forwarding. Google it, you'll be able to get to it. Once you get to it, you're already 95% there. So I really don't even think you're gonna have a problem with it. So you're 95% there. So in terms of completion, you just have to do this part for you. This is gonna be like 5%. Maybe this one's gonna be like 1%. And then this is gonna be another 4%, probably. Even that's kind of far-fetched because this is like it's personal stuff, but that's what you'll do. But we're gonna go ahead and actually assume that we already got our gateway configured, because that's again my personal stuff. It doesn't help anybody. We're gonna now just configure the Caddy file. I'll show you how the Caddy file is configured, and then I will show you how that reverse proxy works. And then from that point on, hopefully you guys get the idea. So let's go back into it. So now on here, we got our Caddy working. To configure the Caddy file, you will have to go to this path over here. You have to type in this path and using any of your favorite commands. So you can type in sudo nano, or you can type in vim, sudo vim, then the path of that. So that's what you do. That's what will allow you to give you the plain Caddy file. So let's just go ahead and do that right now. So we're going to copy this command, and this gives you instruction anyway what to do. So let's come over here. We're going to hit X, escape to command X. Hold on, it's not happy with me over here. So command C. Then we're now going to go ahead and type in the command. So we're going to go ahead, type in sudo. I love nano, so I'm going to use nano, and then the Caddy file path. So from that point on, I actually forgot that so you need to make sure it's there. So that's what we need to do. So we're gonna hit un, and this file already exists, so you don't have to worry about it. In fact, if I go ahead and actually show you where this file exists, so just knowing that you guys what you're dealing with it, this is all set up for you. So cd, if I do this one and do ls, the Caddy file is already there. So now if I go ahead and type in sudo nano Caddy file and hit enter, that's what my default Caddy file looks like. So right now you can see it's using port 80 and it's routed to exactly that. So that's how it's configured right this minute. Now you can do other things. You can change other things to customize it to your favorite. I'll show you what my production Caddy looks like so you can kind of get an idea and use that, for your own environment. In fact, I don't even use all those things, so I'll just copy this to somewhere else so we can set this back to default later on. So let's put in a Notepad++ or anything. I'm just gonna put in Notepad. We're gonna need this later on to change everything back to default. And a lot of times when you're working with a lot of files, I recommend you do that just to kind of save yourself some time. If you ever mess up, this will get you back into it. So, but anyways, now we got this. Let me open a new terminal session, and I'm gonna connect to my production Caddy server. Then that will allow me to go ahead and basically let me show you what I got going on in my Caddy, and then we can go from there. And I might also try to do something within, like a GoDaddy, but that's something that we may not get to because I only tried to make this into like a 50 to 40 minutes mark video. So let's go ahead and try to do this. So let's go ahead, SSH, ITKY, So my production Caddy right now is configured in port IP with 97, and then type in yes. If I do here sudo system ctl status Caddy, and then supply the password, you can see it's running. Now if I go ahead and do sudo nano, and then oops, wrong paste, guys. That's one thing you want to make sure you don't do. So let's do this again. Sudo nano / etc / caddy file. I think I'm doing this a little bit harder. Remember, I'm from Windows, so I was doing a little bit difficult in here. I'm making my life difficult. So let me just copy and paste it quickly so we can get this done, and we can hit enter. So now we got this going on, and let me put this into silent because it's definitely not happy. And then from this is what my Caddy production looks like. So you can see here I got my domain. You know, this is the first line you see over here. That's the domain I chose to create, you know, custom domain or subdomain rather. And then this is the actual server that's running in my environment. Same thing here. I got Llama services running, AI service running. I also got some other service running. So this is what I got going on. So if I get to my Llama service, if I browse this IP address, I can get to it. In fact, let's verify that. You can get to it just fine. So this is what you can get to it. But if I want to get this from externally, it's a problem because that IP address is not available on that port. It's not, I don't want to forward every port over my ISP router. So I want to make sure that I only have those two port forwarded, 40 and 443, sorry, port 80 and 443, then I can get to from whatever it is. So if I type in now, let me see if my DNS is refreshed. So if I type in llama.itky.org, I may be able to get to it or I may not be. And this is running with an inside, so the inside doesn't know what to do because this is pointing to my inside IP address, so that's not gonna work. But if I go ahead on another machine here, I'm gonna go ahead and do an in private window here, type in here, it should work. There you go. That's what it's supposed to let you do. And from this point on, I can sign in with my Llama, and it's gonna let me sign in. This is my Llama, I'm signed into it. I'm using Llama 3 latest, whatever, that's my default. But if I click on the most important thing here is this SSL. So a lot of times when you go to a website, you want to know that the site is protected with confidence. So if this doesn't have SSL, then there's no point. I have to do like a cert bot and let's encrypt that way. But the good news about Caddy is once you configure it, it will supply the SSL for you. So you can see here my SSL is there. SSL certificate is there. So you can see here it has a 3 month, it looks like it's almost 3 months of certificate, and so it's all great. Almost 4 months actually, to be honest with you. So and this is something that it does it automatically for you. You don't have to do anything. It does Let's Encrypt by automatic default over here. And all I have to do to make this work is I have to change, I have to get one more instruction added there, which is configuring DNS. I haven't done that, but that's very important. So in fact, we're gonna do that. But before we do that, let's come over here. If you come over here to the command prompt, so this website you see Llama over here, I put in 443, and you can do yours 80, you can do whatever you want to. Ultimately, know that this is how you can do Caddy reverse proxy. It's simple, and you can really take this format I use, or you can use some cool people format. Other people have different format. This is another website that we have, which is manage.itky.org, that I happen to do reverse proxy through my production Caddy. And same thing, let me close this out. And then if I go ahead here, it will take me, it should take me there. Sometimes it's a little iffy with DNS updates, whether it's updated or not. And that could be an issue that you have to do, and especially when you do it internally. And also, one thing to note is that I created internal DNS record for this one, but I haven't. So let's actually show you what I mean by that, because that's very important as you try to, start your journey. So let's connect to our DC. This is my domain controller on-prem. DNS plays a huge role with this Caddy reverse proxy. So if I type in DNS right now, you can see this is my DNS. I have a, forward lookup zone, and here you can see I did a llama and then pointed to the IP address. So if I go ahead and do the same thing, let's go ahead and actually do the same thing on here. A record, so you're gonna do a record and you're gonna type in the IP address. So in this case, my IP address, before you type in the address, you wanna type in the subdomain you want, and then you're gonna type in the IP address that way. I believe it's 71. We will check it, double check it, never be good to not check it. So it is 71. So that's how it is. We will go ahead and hit add. So that's added. And then same thing here, there's other websites that I configured and I will verify with my Caddy. So I have also done one that's called, monitor. So let's create a DNS for this one. That's also running on 46. So let's go ahead and do this. Monitor, right click, new host, a record. So it's gonna be monitor, and then it's gonna be IP address 192.168.1.36. Or is it 36? Yeah, it is 36. It's 46. So very important. You gotta get your IP right, and you can hit add. So now DNS takes a while to go ahead and propagate, but if it does propagate, then we can get this from locally. That's why Llama works locally, but this one doesn't work locally, even though it's set up to do a reverse proxy with Caddy. So let's go ahead now see if it's actually gonna do it for us real quick. So now if I go ahead and do manage, I don't expect this to work right now. Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's not propagated yet. So we can do other things to propagate it, make it all, ready. But right now, for the purpose of this, let me try this once more. Yeah, it's ready. So it propagated just fine. So you can see here it's doing it right now, and you can see the DNS is recognized. Anytime you want to test DNS faster, you have to do it in private window. Let's do monitor. That's the last one. The ITKY this is running on our, let's see if it's gonna do it. It may not be propagated yet. Yeah, this one is not propagated yet. So, but the point is that this is something that you can definitely configure on your own. It's not really hard, as you can see. And the DNS, this is for internal DNS. If you're gonna get it from internally, you have to also do a DNS through, either Azure or GoDaddy or whichever DNS provider you have, or Cloudflare. To do that, you have to log into your domain DNS provider, and then you have to basically create a record just like this, and then put in the public. And this, instead of putting a local IP right here, like you see here, you want to do a public IP address. Your public IP, you can just go to what's my IP, and you can get to your, public IP that way. And you do this externally. So if you want to get this from externally, that's how you get to it. Without doing a DNS, it won't know what to do. Like Caddy cannot do anything. So that's very, very important. So to summarize, that's what we got. So let me go back to the notebook, and then we're gonna be calling it a day, I think. Let's grab a pen. So we now just verify that our Caddy will work fine, even though we're using our production one. Our port forwarding is set up correctly for us already. In our case, I understand you guys didn't see that part, but at the same time, like I said, it's proprietary stuff. Everybody gets their own, so I can't really make a session for what everybody would get. So that's why you have to figure out this tool on your own port forwarding, and then you have to configure websites to your liking. So that's very important. But the last part I want to make sure that you guys don't remember is once you configure your Caddy file or websites, update DNS. So create a DNS record, create a DNS records. So you do want to create DNS record for your sites, one on-prem if you want to get to from on-prem without having to use IP address. So create an on-prem DNS record with at host record with the IP. Example, I'm going to show you what I did on mine. 36:3:36, and then you have to supply your subdomain. In this case, I supply my subdomain llama.itky.org, and then on Azure, or in this case I'm using Azure DNS, but you can use any DNS provider. You will create a same thing, Azure or external DNS. That's what I'm just gonna say. So you want to go ahead and do the same thing on the Azure external DNS. Same thing. You will go ahead, create a record, and in this case, you're gonna go ahead. Let me verify. Let me make sure that this is gonna be local IP, and then it's gonna be here. Example 85.1.6.86.65. This is a random public IP that I'm making up on top of my head. And then here, you'll basically, this will be your external IP address or public IP. You supply this inside the external DNS, Azure or OpenDNS, whichever, or Cloudflare, whichever DNS provider you are. So public IP, and then you're gonna supply your subdomain. In this case, same thing, llama.itky.org. So that's what you would do. And that will basically let you route your website both internally and externally with using the same, common, domain name here, like here. So you can see here, you can route everything to this, both externally and internally. And you saw me showing you guys how I did that. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. So what do you think? Is this something you guys can explore on your own? Can you configure on your own? Let me know. And also, I do want to give this time a shout out to the channel members. Thank you for being a member, and your contribution goes a long way for us. We're really thankful for that, and we're going to continue making more videos tailored towards members, and also making more videos for all our subscribers. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, like. Until next time, guys, peace.